Hello, it's Ash from Crack Minis. How you doing? Today I'm going to be finishing a warband that I started well over a year ago. When I made this guy, Peter, in my episode called Ghost, Kit Bashing, Scratch Building. I'm probably going to have to add to that title now that I've done this. But yeah, let's make a warband. Because I've got one already, I only need to make 4. For bases of those, I'm going to be using some Phobos armour from Space Marines. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. I'm going to cut the little scully things off their chests because I don't actually need those. I mean, I got gifted these from a mate because I run a Space Wolf army. But then again, you only need so many groups of Hounds of Mordecai, innit? I mean, they are good against Psychers, but that's if you're playing against someone with Psychers. I wasn't 100% sure on where to start the kit bash off. So what I did was I half built him and then had a look and worked out what I could stick on there. I had one of them Adeptus Mechanicus servitor things with like the tank treads. I shouldn't eat late night eBay, but I do. So I end up with stuff like this that I have no armies for or anything, just end up using them for kit bashing. The thing has like 18 arms on it, so I just stuck one of them on the model. And then I snipped the leg off, put the bone on it from another model kit. Was it War Games Atlantic? It'll come to me the name of it in a minute, because you can see some more pieces from there popping up. Okay, so I googled it. And it's the Skeleton Warriors by War Games Atlantic, classic fantasy set. And it's fantastic. It's really good scale for matching with GW stuff as well. The only problem with the set is that the skulls are just a little bit too big and the hands are just a little bit too small on the skeletons. There are ways to hide it, and I'll show you some that I used. Also, get yourself a set of skulls from GW. It's well worth it. It's hundreds in a box, and yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, so this brings us to the problem that I had. I posted on Instagram the other day saying that I'd lost some footage from one of my minis when I was building. It's a bit worse than I thought originally. When I went back through and realised a piece of me building the other one's gone as well, because I made one out of Necron armour. Well, with Necron armour and other attachments. So it looks slightly different than the rest. It comes into play with the lore in a little bit, which I will be dropping because I have some of that for this episode. But yeah, these things happen anyway. Files get corrupted, or whole hours of footage just magically disappear. Oh. Anyway, so I'm skipping 2 and 3, which was the Necron armour, and then one built out of bits of with the Nurgle stuff on it. You'll see, you've seen like a few of them, but there's more to it. I've changed some bits on one of them as well, and yeah. So we get to work on the last one of the 4, which is mostly skeleton. I wanted to do one that was mostly skeleton because the whole backstory for these is being reanimated dead. Like I said, the scale works really well with the Bone Warriors, or what they call it, Skeleton Warriors. Bone Warriors. Sorry, you can blame the cold on all this. Losing track of myself. This is the part where you like and subscribe. I hope. And a big thank you to everyone who has already subscribed and doesn't mind sitting through me waffling. And then it came to adding wire. I did this for all the models, but I'm only really showing it on this one. I took some meter sealing wire, wrapped it around and bent it and twisted it and put it in different places where I thought it might be so it'd fit onto the models. I saw it done on this Facebook group I'm on. What's it called? High Lords Kit Bash or something, 40k converters. And so I'd used it for a psyker, and I thought, oh, I've got some of that, I use it for barbed wire, and I threw it on. That looks good when it's painted anyway, and you'll see now, because after this lot, I really only have to do the basing and showing you the model that I don't even actually have video for. Give it as much screen time as I can, yeah. There it is, getting ready to go on its base. I actually got to use one of the Reaver helmets for this one. I thought the only cool part from the actual Phobos helmet is the Reaver helmet. Oh, that's why it gets used so much in kit bashing. Alright, so I started painting, and for this, it seemed best just to go with a black base coat. Xenophil highlight can be useful sometimes, but because I wasn't 100% sure on how I was going to go with the painting, because I had a basic colour scheme worked out, I didn't want to risk messing that up depending on how light I wanted to go and how well I wanted to show up against the black. For the first one I went completely different than what I did for the rest, which is why I'm showing it first, because it's just so different. Like I said before, these are undead, well, basically pirates, and they're built from different parts of different people, different armour sets, all just jammed together, so I didn't want all of it to be matching. And because I've used mainly Necron parts for him and a few different like Terminator pieces, and the legs off a normal Space Marine that I had lying around, because I wasn't happy with the Phobos legs with the bulky top and the really skinny legs on the bottom, so I went for a wider leg. I'm not sure where that arm with the chainsaw blade comes from. I just found it in a box. I think it's like an apothecary or something. You know, the white armoured medic thing. Oh, I cannot remember the name for it. Yeah, so it was like a hodgepodge of different parts that I had, just lying around in different places, because I've got like a little box full of bits. I decided to paint him grey, so he'd stand out against the rest. I say stand out, he's grey. Not really stand out that much when he's grey, but yeah. Please bear with me if there's any focusing issues in the scenes coming up. I have been switched over to a digital camera for a good chunk of this filming. Some bits I didn't have any issues with, but others I had some issues with focusing. I've been a bit apprehensive making the switch, but I know that if I want to improve the quality of my videos, I need to start using something other than my phone. It gives me more range with what I can make, but it is a bit of a learning curve. I definitely learned something with the painting on this video. I was thinking about it, and I paint on my silver after the fact and then just touch up around it, and with this I realised that if I paint on the silver with my base coat and then throw on a wash, if I use like a really shiny silver and then throw on a wash on the top, it dulls it down and brings it to more realistic metallic look, and saves me having to paint around it so much or to highlight it. I mean, obviously you do end up with some highlights, because what I do is I will paint it, wash it, then paint some more on top, just to bring some of that colour back in without having to rub it all away, because to be fair, most of the time when I'm painting stuff off it's still wet, so I don't rub too much or the paint comes off, and this way it sort of saves me the hassle of having to do that and still looks quite good. For the pipework on most of these I painted it blue. I mean, as with the original episode, I wanted it to look like a blue energy source. Don't ask me why blue, I think it's just because it shows up better on camera, but I think it looks really good. Yeah, I also did like the skulls, pipes, eyes. The eyes on this one, because I actually used an Earl face, you'll see the colour of the paint. It's quite orangey. It looks quite orangey with this camera, but I'd show it with the other camera in a minute. And that, after I've washed it, it doesn't look as orange for some reason. But yeah, orangey for now. See, it doesn't look that orangey now. I think the actual blue in the eyes helps, as well as, you know, like the energy pulsating from the neck. Yeah, all in all, pretty happy with this one. For the next one, because it's going to be basically the same, just with a different colour palette. I say basically the same, some elements are different. I might as well talk a bit about the story and how it relates to the original episode. Let's go. Okay, so in the original Ghost Kit Bashing Scratch Building episode, I talked about a character named Peter who was lost in space, and he was found like thousands of years later, and he was brought back to life by the AI component in his spacesuit, using parts from the ship that found him, and then he went on a massive slaughter and killed all these boats. Well, most of these boats are from that ship. Like this guy, his name's Istvan Edrai. And Istvan Edrai was a hero. Saved countless lives on countless planets, but turned to piracy because being a hero didn't really pay the bills. I bet he'd regret that choice now if he could remember it. And how that relates to this is, so this warband that I'm making is the crew of the Screaming Tide. Cool name, yeah. The Screaming Tide. Anyway, so the crew of the Screaming Tide is like this mod podge of resurrected and reshaped corpses mixed with machines by a mad Captain Peter, the Dread Ghost Tyrell. That's what I've given him a last name. I didn't have a last name, but he's got one now. A man hell-bent on returning to a long-dead planet, Earth. By any means, he's haunted the galaxy for as long as anyone can remember, leaving a trail of death and destruction and an unending horde of reanimated dead in his wake. This crew's made up from the pieces of some of the galaxy's greatest heroes and most treacherous villains, remade and reforged into almost mindless monsters. Only fragments of the people they were remain, like snapshots into a time long since lost to the ceaseless void of space. That's about all I've got, lore-wise. I mean, I wanted to keep it pretty basic, that way I can expand on it as I choose at a later date. Like most of these guys are going to need backstories, like proper backstories, not just names, and like basic info. I mean, I'll probably post some stuff on Instagram over the next couple of weeks. I'm definitely going to be making more of these anyway, because I'm dying to make centaur out of skeletons, and I've seen that the skeleton warriors have a cavalry set, and I'm thinking space robot centaur, space dead person robot centaur. Well, yeah, I can make that. The possibilities with this are endless. Anyways, so like I said, it's the crew of the Screaming Tide, which means they're going to need a ship. Now, I'm going to say this on here, so I have to do it, because I know what I'm like. I get distracted, make something else. For the next episode, I'm going to be making a ship. It'll be the second one I've done for a while. I haven't really done many. Well, I've done one spaceship before. This one's going to be a big one, so it might take me a few weeks to make. But yeah, hopefully I'll have it out by the end of October. It also gives me the excuse to cut up some toys, because I got myself some Star Wars toys from the 80s. So the best kind of plastic. I didn't care if they got you sick. I managed to get a Slave one, an 8080, and then a couple of G.I. Joe toys for like 10 quid. So I was like, yeah, they're damaged, but they'd be all good for what I need them for. I found them when I was looking for a Rebel transport. For back in the day, Games Workshop released these books called How to Make Wargames Terrain, and in it shows you the set pieces made from a Rebel transport from a Star Wars toy. And I was thinking if I could get one damaged, I could try and remake that myself, because I like the way it looks on a tabletop. Also, the thing's huge, so you can get a decent amount of chunks out of it. And I come across these, and they're going to keep me in buildings that I don't have to build myself for a while. Anyway, that puts us about the end. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see if I can dig that book out, How to Make Wargames Terrain. I'll probably squeeze an episode out of it. Or a few, actually. There's loads of stuff in there. And it's all fundamentals, and most of it still holds up. Anyway, it's time for the spinny bit.